Welcome to the Living to Thrive with Cancer podcast, a podcast about the big and little issues that come with living with cancer. I'm Kathryn White, a stage 4 colon cancer thriver, passionate about supporting others who have faced a cancer diagnosis and are looking to feel empowered in taking back control of their health and happiness. My own walk with cancer helped me to learn more about myself and how to live with cancer, and it led me to become a holistic cancer coach so I can support others to move from survivor to thriver. So let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to episode 4.6 of the Living to Thrive with Cancer podcast. In today's episode, I am talking with Jennifer Farr, a breast cancer thriver and fellow cancer coach. Jennifer is a 2-time breast cancer journeyer, the author of No Baby Pigeons, Navigating Cancer Through Revealing, Releasing, and Redefining. And Jennifer is also not only my friend, but also a cancer trauma coach. Jennifer believes that through revealing, releasing, and redefining trauma-based narratives that come with the cancer journey, she can help guide those navigating the cancer journey to an elevated mindset and move from fear to forward. She also provides one-to-one coaching, a self-paced digital coaching program, and additional content on YouTube, the Far From Fear podcast, and her blog, and I'll share all that information with you in the show notes. So today we're going to take a look at Jennifer's story of navigating breast cancer not once, but twice, her book, No Baby Pigeons, and why she wrote it, and why she focuses on trauma-based coaching. So Jennifer, welcome. I'm so excited that we are finally doing this podcast episode.
Thank you. Oh, I'm unbelievably grateful. First of all, obviously, so grateful that we had come in contact in the first place. Many moons ago now, but I am very grateful for this opportunity to speak to a platform where I think now there are so many other individuals that are starting to reveal their stories and they're starting to find their voices. And that's, I think, it can be very essential. You don't have to have a platform. You don't have to speak it to the world, but for you to be able to reveal your story to yourself is very empowering.
Oh, I love that. To reveal your story to yourself. Like, that is such a huge part of the healing process, isn't it?
It definitely is. Yeah. Yeah. I think personally for me, so I'll go into a quick little background. There was no history of cancer, especially breast cancer, in my family. So it was a shock when I first got diagnosed, October 24th. We always remember, right?
Yes.
2012. Yeah. So it was ironically Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And, I'm sure like everybody, similar path. When the pink ribbons come out or blue ribbons in terms of colon cancer awareness, before you come into that journey, it just sort of feels like grandma had cancer. So, we've had that conversation at the dinner table. And so it does seem so foreign. It seems so, distant to you. And so I think when I first got diagnosed, sure, there was definitely the surrounding of a community of my friends and family and that aspect, but I didn't really want to identify with it. But not in a positive way. I would say it was more negative. I just wanted to sweep it under the carpet. So, in my opinion, let's get it done. Let's get it over with. Everything that I have to do, I'll just do it. And just sort of went into that get her done mode. And it wasn't until in between my 2 cancer journeys that I had what I finally recognized as PTSD. And I went to a number of different therapists and I took some time off work. And none of these therapists could meet me where I was at. Not truly because they had not experienced that type of trauma. They had obviously wonderful training and, cognitive behavioral therapy. So there were some positive aspects to that, as opposed to not going and getting any help at all. But I think what what I found that was lacking was that true empathy. And in fact, and I wrote about this in my book, I had one psychologist dare tell me that I did not have PTSD because that was for war veterans.
Isn't that interesting? Like that, can we just
Yeah,
pause there for a second? Like that is not a truth. That is somebody's narrative that they're telling themselves about other people.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
PTSD is absolutely part of a veteran's experience. It's part of first responders' experiences. It's part of children's experiences who've experienced, difficult childhoods. But it truly is a part of the cancer experience. And I find, and maybe I don't know how you feel about this, I find it difficult to even express on that really deeper level, like the impact that this actually has.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And, it's not, that's why when I say, because this has evolved in over obviously years of my telling the narratives to myself and telling the stories to myself and not truly knowing how to articulate that to a therapist,
Mm.
especially one that hadn't been there. And I remember sitting in this this kid's office because I remember thinking, "Oh, you're so young. Just wait." And I just bawled because you're already in a vulnerable state. So for to not be met with compassion and empathy and just simply being told this is what it is was extremely disempowering. And
Mm.
I, at that point, remember stating to myself, if I ever um, get involved somehow in some sort of support or mentorship or coaching, I didn't even know about cancer coaches. I didn't even know they existed at the time. This is what I want to do:
Yeah.
is allow individuals to have a voice and to reveal their voice to themselves. What does that new voice tell you? What is
Yes.
what are they, she, her, him, he trying to say to you? Right? So it's
Yes.
very powerful.
Yeah. If I can just share, like, my experience was with the social worker whose office was in the cancer clinic.
Yeah,
And I really felt, with a stage 4 diagnosis, and that she was just preparing us all for me to die. There was
right.
conversations around how do you talk to the boys about this, and, what kinds of things do you need to have in place, and it was like, okay, first of all, I'm not planning on dying.
Right.
So can we change the narrative there? And why
Yeah,
am I doing this in the cancer clinic? This is the most
right.
traumatizing, re-traumatizing place to be doing this work. So I bring this up because of that framing around, like, who are you speaking to? Where are you speaking to this person? And that training of understanding, and I am not saying anything negative about therapists or social workers in their training,
Mhm.
but like I say to my clients, because they're like, people don't understand. It's like, no, people don't understand. They can't understand unless they really understand. And the bottom line is, we actually don't want them to understand
Mhm.
because they have to have had cancer to really understand.
It's so true. Yeah, and that goes to say with any trauma, you know, grief, losing somebody traumatically. Um, it really is more beneficial when somebody has been there,
Yes.
because they understand the emotions that are starting to unpack, and that sometimes can take months or years, and it did for me. And so, yes, as I was saying, it was in between the two cancer journeys that in 2015 I thought something's not okay. My body started to shut down. I got what I thought was vertigo, and then spoke to my publisher, actually, who is also a mindset coach. And she said she has an intuitive doctor that stated that it actually might be more of it was a form of dizziness that can be brought on by trauma.
Oh.
And there's a name for it. I think it's like BPPV or something like that. And I thought, oh, wow, I totally had that. Symptoms were very similar. It came on fast and hard. And every morning I woke up feeling like I was, you know, just, well, felt drunk or something, was walking kind of, felt like I was walking sideways. And it lasted for 2 months straight. So that was basically the beginning stages of my body saying, slow down, time to take a seat, and allow me to do my job, basically. Allow me to heal you
Mm.
properly. And I didn't fully understand what was happening, but it made me listen. And I decided that right then and there, I would take the time off work. And so I went on this journey of just trying to kind of figure out who was this new Jen?
Mm.
Who was she? Like, what did she want to do with her life?
Mhm. Mhm.
And that was basically a period of a few months between September and December of that year. And it was in January that I had discovered a golf ball sized lump underneath my left armpit. So the same site as the original cancer. And it had gone into my lymph nodes. So that was when, sort of, here we go again. So I'd only just had time to kind of allow myself to unpack some of the emotions from the first journey. And also, of course, I had a double mastectomy. So a lot of, there's a lot of identification that comes
Yes.
around that. Like obviously with women, I know there are men that have gone through the journey as well. Um, and there could be some physical aspects to that for them as well, scars and such. But I know for women, femininity plays a big part, and our boobs are a big part of what that is, right?
It's true.
Um,
It is like
yeah,
a it's a visual representation of who we are, and society places a
right,
lot of emphasis on that. So yet to have
definitely,
that piece that is like from the time you're 10 or 12 years old, whenever your body develops, to
yeah,
suddenly that must be a very difficult and traumatic piece in the process.
yeah. And so it's a lot of revealing to yourself, right? So you're revealing not only the narratives that you're going through, but you're revealing your new body. What does
Mm.
that look like? Some women opt to go flat, some opt for reconstruction. Every choice is okay. It's really dependent on what your decision is and what's best for you and your body and your circumstance. But I think we all go through a bit of an identity crisis. And I am so glad I listened to my body and to my brain really at that time to take the time that I needed, because I guarantee that helped equip me for the next journey. I
Mm.
was in a different mindset. Instead of anger, instead of, why me? I I was able to approach it to say, okay, well, here we go again. But this time I'm gonna stand toe to toe with you, Cancer. You're not getting out of this alive.
Yes, I love that. Facing
Right?
it head on.
Facing it head on. Yes. And so I speak to that very passionately. Um, because it can seem like the monster in the room. It really truly is. There's so much fear and power we give to cancer.
Yeah.
Um, and really, this is about taking our power back,
Yes.
empowering ourselves in the journey, not only within it, but after as well in a post journey.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think there's a big part of society that is socialized to believe that cancer is a death sentence. First of all, like
yeah,
let's just put that right on the table. Like
yeah,
whatever the stage is, people automatically go to cancer equals death. And that's not
yes,
true in both of our cases. We know that.
right,
It's not
right,
true, but it's also like this is a piece that really frustrates me. It is like always the story in a book or in a movie. Like it's
Yeah.
always the poor person who's sick. Oh, and it's revealed they have cancer. It's like, so first of all, it makes it difficult to watch those movies because it's like, why?
Right.
Why? And second of all, that's not actually what it looks like for everyone.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
there's this picture painted, like even coming back to the double mastectomy or choosing to go flat or whatever, like there's this picture painted of what cancer looks like and what the story is. And I
Yeah.
think, having read your book, I think that that's part of what you're trying to change that narrative around. Like it isn't that. We don't all lose our hair. Some of us do, some of us don't. We're not all gray and sickly. Some people gain weight, some people lose weight, some people work, some people don't. Like it's
Right.
it is that it's the narrative around cancer that, pardon the pun, kind of pigeonholes us into this like victim space.
Yeah. Agreed. And that's just it. And I'm seeing, and I'm sure you are as well, there's a trend, right? We're seeing these 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 individuals that are standing kind of up for themselves but also for others, and they're starting to say, all right, that's it.
Yeah.
No longer are we allowing cancer to be that, you know, dark shadow in the room. We are 100% going to put this thing in the forefront. We're going to speak about the realities. There are the raw real realities that we face, obviously, and everybody faces it differently, but there's something not only empowering, but there's something beautiful about being vulnerable. There's
Mm,
something absolutely stunning about an individual who can name and can show their emotion and can be authentic, can be real. You know, I remember I had this sort of little thought a couple months ago when I happened to be watching a movie where somebody started crying about a situation, but they held their hands up and hid their face. And I remember thinking, why is that? Why do we do that? Because we're ashamed.
mm,
We've been conditioned to think there is shame in showing emotion or that we're weak. And I refuse to do that anymore. I refuse. And I want to advocate for others to do the same. Show up in whatever emotion that you are, right? We're human. This is what our
yes.
journey is, right?
Yes.
So that's the realness, right? That's the authenticity.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps. But it is so true. It is,
Yeah.
I love that you said that. Like, there are people who are starting to stand up and say, like, no, you don't
Yeah.
get to decide my story.
Yep.
This isn't what my
Exactly.
story looks like. That's not what her story looks like or his story. And because cancer is individual to each person, like our physical terrain, our emotional terrain is going to dictate how things go.
Yeah.
And it is a disease happening in the body, but it is a real human experience.
Exactly. Yeah. Lovely.
Microscopically, there's something going on, but it's way bigger than that.
Yeah.
And that's so maybe
And
we can like switch gears a little bit and get into the book because I love it. It's just so
sure.
I have my copy right here. No
Amazing.
baby pigeons. So I
Um,
would love for you to share like these lessons that you have had revealed to you, obviously are part of your book. Like, so people might be wondering, like, why is it called No Baby Pigeons? Maybe you could start with that.
yes. So very, very funny. I mean, I'm very quirky and a bit nerdy and silly. I love to have fun in life. Um, and I wanted to face cancer, you know, with basically a little bit of humor. And you know, that was what I knew would help me in those times. And I just remember walking into the hospital for a biopsy appointment. So this was the very first journey, not knowing what to expect and just thinking, okay, one step in front of the other. You can do this, Jen. You can do this. Yep. Baby steps. I think of what about Bob, the movie? Baby steps into the hospital, baby steps through the door. and I remember I had an email exchange going on with a friend at the time, and I just happened to say, do you ever notice that there are no baby pigeons? Like, do you ever see baby pigeons? Like, you see pigeons because there's pigeons all over the hospital. doing what pigeons do, but you never see the baby pigeons. And so, we're fast forwarding, and of course, it was a banter back and forth. And my friend said, "Oh, you're such a nutcase." And I said, "Right." And I said, "But that's okay because now I've got to go in for my boob biopsy, and I feel a little less, fearful about it." So,
Mm.
so years later, of course, when I met my publisher, and just last year, and very close to this time, I had said to her, um, I think this is kind of what I want to go with, a different. I had a different title in mind, and she said, "Well, tell me a little bit about your story." So I told her that story. She said, "Write that in there, and that is your title." In that second, you were grounded. It
Mm.
grounded you. It was silly. It was fun. It was a humorous thought, but it removed you from that fear-based thinking into a forward-based thinking. Of course, I was still scared. Of
Mhm.
course, we're still going to be scared going into the, okay, what's next, and that sort of thing, and this is going to hurt, and of course we are. But if we can ground ourselves just a little bit in the present moment, in little nuggets like that we can find on our way to an appointment or a treatment or something like that, maybe, just maybe, we can change the narrative so that it basically moves us forward in that a little less fear based.
Yes.
And that was exactly why it became that title.
I love that. And you
Yeah.
really don't ever see baby pigeons.
No, I know.
I
So
don't
of
know
course
where they are.
I know my editors will like, let's Google that.
Yeah.
Of
It's
course,
the truth. I Googled it. I was like, I have to know. Why are there no baby pigeons around? So
just because of my book now, there are probably billions of new Google hits on no baby pigeons.
yeah, well,
That makes
I
me
mean,
laugh.
your book is definitely out there, and just, for the
Yeah.
readers, it is available, or the listeners, it is available. Who will be your readers? It's available on
Right.
Amazon. So,
Yes.
I do suggest that they get their hands on it because there's a lot of great stuff inside of your book. So, did you want to speak to it a little bit more? Like, because the
Yeah.
byline is reveal, release, and redefine. And I know that
Right.
that's also the foundation of your own story, but and also the coaching and the program that you offer.
Definitely. So, and it's wild how that evolved. My book didn't actually have that structure initially. It was my editor that said, "Well, tell me about your business." And I said, "Well, I really feel, this is what I experienced, and I feel like we can this could be a universal concept or methodology where we reveal our story, and then we learn how to release those narratives, those fear-based narratives, those what if scenarios, and then we redefine what our journey is going to look like.
Mhm.
And we have and learning how to truly tap into the power of creating our new reality that we have and that we've maybe lost along the way. That's what I wanted to get across in this book. So yes, there is a little bit of my story, of revealing my story, and there's some humor peppered throughout that. 80s references because Gen Xer by trade. But I wanted to get across this understanding that I just tapped into um, mindset work and truly evolving from what I was to what I am today was a process, and everybody's going through a process, but then start to recognize just how truly capable and powerful we really truly are as human beings.
Yes.
And so, I got into a lot of this understanding of manifestation and the neuroscience even behind it. I love the science behind
It's
the
so
aspect,
cool.
right?
I know,
And
it's
we've
like
talked
I'm
about
totally
Dr.
a
Joe.
nerd.
Yeah, I
Like
nerd out. And I was like, and it's so true. There's so much evidence out there if we just look that our mindset plays a big part on how we move through life and move through things like this traumatic situations and such. It doesn't mean obviously this whole toxic positivity thing comes into play. No, we don't ignore or, you know, toss out our emotions and
Yeah.
just say, "Oh, I'm not going to look at that." No,
Yeah.
that's what got me into trouble in the first place,
Yeah.
was not looking at my emotion, because it comes back to bite you.
Sure
And
does.
yeah, I think a lot of people can resonate with that. So I really wanted to speak about energy in the book, and how this understanding that everything is energy, and that we can move and truly create the energy that we want to create going forward, in within our bodies and in our minds, our cellular structure, understanding the science behind, the whole concept that your cells are listening to every thought that you think.
Yes. Your body hears everything you tell it.
Yes, yes. So that right there was my wake up call to to look at this business aspect and say, this is what I wanted to do so many years ago, but I
Mm,
had to go through the process. I had to go through the growth and the evolution of self to be able to show up authentically for others, and to be able
yes.
to say, I can meet you right where you're at because I've been there and know what that is. But
I
I can
love that.
also bring you from here to here.
Yes. Yeah, and that is the piece I think that people who are living with cancer are looking for, and you addressed this early on, like that authenticity, that
Yeah.
like, you know, I tell my clients, if you cry, we cry. Like sometimes I'll cry with you. Like we cry
Yeah.
on our calls.
You
Like
and I've cried to you.
we've cried together on calls when we were coaching each other. Like
Yeah.
Jen is like my cancer coach and I'm her
Yeah.
cancer coach. And it's perfect, like because
Yeah.
there's the understanding and the authenticity and trust. There's also a lot of trust involved in
Yeah.
being able to reveal to yourself, but also to other people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
And
Amazing.
reinventing your life like this, it's a very uncomfortable phrase for some people, but cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me because it has allowed me to look at myself and say, what was I doing? And what can I do differently, non-judgmentally, loving myself
Right.
wholly completely through the process and being
Yeah.
able to create this new life
Yeah.
and literally redefine I think my purpose. And I think that you feel the same way that these things aren't wonderful experiences, but isn't it interesting that it shows up when it shows up? And then it's not the why did I get cancer, but what am I going to do with it?
Exactly. Yes. How will I move forward from this? What can I learn from this? And how can I evolve? How can I show up for others? That's one of the other wonderful things, is seeing so many individuals beginning to support one another.
Mhm.
And, some of them are showing up as cancer coaches as well, which I think is fantastic. We need more of us
Mhm.
in the world, because, this is truly the peppered with purpose, as I say in my book, is when you feel that, um, you, you know something is no longer serving you, um, that you feel this little nudge, to move into a different um, a different aspect, and that could be anything. Perhaps you become a therapist. Perhaps you decide to, um, move and evolve into massage therapy or physio to help individuals going through scar tissue um, issues. There's so many different things that we can tap into and we can figure out. And this, I think, cancer truly does give us an opportunity to, like you said, look at where we were at and what we came from, and then decide, how do I show up differently for myself and for others?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. And I think
Yeah.
that is a huge part of the healing process. Like there's those in radical remission, they talk about the people and the work that they do. And part of it is that introspection, like, how am
Yeah.
I going to show up for myself and for others? Who do I want to be in this world? What
Yeah.
is my purpose? And you're right, like it, when I was diagnosed in 2015, I didn't even know there was such a thing as coaching, let alone cancer
Yeah.
coaches. And
Yes.
so, like, to be able to go into this space of coaching, which I know is part of yours, and we do need to talk about what you are doing and how you offer that to people, because like there's just like you said, not enough of us out there, and not everybody needs to be a coach. You're right. Like there are other modalities, there's other ways to support people, and to
Yeah.
help people get through the initial shock and awe, and then
Yeah.
get that confidence that, okay, I can do this. The mindset piece of I need to believe that I can do
Yes.
this. And, you know, asking for help is a superpower, asking for help to get through the rest of the process, to reveal
Exactly.
what else is available and where can I go from here.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Love that.
It's a
Yeah. And I,
complicated machine, this cancer business stuff.
it truly is. Yes. That's why we're always, evolving and learning and growing from it. Right. And I believe that it's, well, what they taught us in college, lifelong learning, but
Yes.
it definitely equates with this journey of evolution of who you are, like versus who you were,
Yes,
and allowing
absolutely.
that new normal in. Yeah.
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 And just coming back to the trauma piece that you work in, and both of us do mindset work, is like that whole, that you can go for massage, you can go for physio, you can go for all of those things. And oftentimes, people come to me saying, I just need to change how I eat. Can you help me change how I eat? Because we view it as a
Yeah.
physical process,
Right.
but it really is a mindset process, and
Yeah.
that underlying trauma does need to be addressed, and
Yeah.
even I think people don't recognize that they have trauma all of the time, and so as it starts to be revealed and released, then comes the
Yeah.
redefining.
Exactly. It's so true. And it's interesting you say about the nutrition piece, because I think mindset has a very big piece to play with that as well, because um, it's amazing. I find it kind of sort of interesting, not funny, but that the first thing people tend to do is look up recipes like
Right.
anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer
Mhm.
smoothies, and um, and that's great. But I think, like you said, it's a mindset. So, well, let me reevaluate maybe what I was feeding into my body. Like I need to kind of really truly make this a holistic, like an overall experience, mind body connection. Um, you know, okay, how did my body feel after having A or B or C, right?
Yes.
And so then it becomes more about a relationship, an intuitive relationship with, it
Mm,
doesn't mean you can't enjoy A or B or C, but just how often are you enjoying those things? And what are your decisions around those? Um, you know, uh, Consuming certain things, and I think that just becomes a part of the journey. Is recognizing that, okay, yeah, my body didn't feel as great after having that, and that's okay. I'm going to be guilt free about having
yes.
a whole pizza, but
No shame.
little
We do not
little bloaty
shame.
here. But like our bodies are very forgiving, I have to say
Yes.
as well. That is one
Yes.
thing that I've been learning as well, is our bodies, they're designed to heal themselves from the inside out.
Yes.
So if we really truly understand that and can tap into that and have a relationship with our bodies in that true sense, then it's like, wow, you're driving the bus. Like at
Yes.
that point, you're on board,
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely. And it's just getting people, and we were talking about this before we got on the call, like that people don't even know that coaching is available. People don't know
yeah,
what's involved in coaching. They
yeah,
aren't on the bus because it's not like really out there information. But
yeah.
once they're on the bus
Yes.
and truly like in the driver's seat and realizing that they have way more control over their actions, but also their thoughts than they think they have, that's where
Right.
like the magic unfolds of watching someone say like, yeah, I am going to eat that pizza and I'm going to bless it and I'm going to be grateful for it and then
Yep.
I'm going to move on
Yep.
and just be mindful and intentional in their practices and in their life.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
And
are
I think
those pieces that you teach, I know you have a self-directed program. Did you want to
right.
speak to that? Because I think, there are people that can't always do or don't always want to do one-on-one coaching, but to have a program space available to them. So could you tell us a
Yes.
little more about that?
Definitely. It was something sort of that evolved out of my own experience where when I first got diagnosed, I didn't want to talk to anybody initially. I didn't want to go to support groups. I didn't want to talk about cancer. I didn't want to talk about all the medical terms. That was just not my personality. To me, that instilled more fear for me. So I sort of shut all of that out. And had there been something that was similar made available, I think I would have really looked into that a little bit deeper because it gave me the opportunity. It gives the opportunity, I think, for individuals to decide on if they want to um, truly show up in a different way. And I think everybody, not maybe not everybody, but a lot of people would go through, the stages of denial, and one of them is anger, and
Mm.
that is okay. That is 100% completely normal and okay. Allow yourself to go through that emotion. But if you are able to do it in sometimes a bit of a self-paced um, method, it could allow yourself some more of a safe space, quiet reflection space. Now, I definitely want to ensure that people understand that I've also wanted to incorporate the one-on-one or the group sessions with that. So it's not like, here you go, here's your courses, and see you later.
Mhm.
Um, I want to be able to acknowledge people when they're in that journey. And so if they have questions, depending on what lesson perhaps they're going through, and my lessons, my specific program is all about methodology of reveal, release, and redefine. And within each of those modules are a series of lessons that go through some of the aspects that I felt that I went through, but also some that I've spoken with other cancer journeyers and they've gone through. So identifying with cancer and how do you show up in that, or comparing yourself to others' journeys.
Mm. Oh, yeah, it's
That's a big
huge.
one, right?
Yeah.
And so these are all very, very real topics that I think that we can come up against in that journey. And so I wanted to really, really dig into that and talk about what are the narratives you are telling yourself in that state. One of them is showing up. So in the reveal module, one of them is revealing the fear, revealing the dark.
Mm.
And that one's a sensitive one,
It's
right? Because a
big
lot of
work.
that's trauma. And you have to you have to sit with that. You have to let it come to the surface, sit with it, and then release it, move through it. And it there's so much healing I think that can happen when we allow ourselves that time and that grace. Like you said, the grace, give ourselves grace to go through these things and not punish ourselves. We are very, very, very gifted at punishing ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
We got to stop that. We have to stop that. And I think that's a generational thing. I got to say, I think that,
Yeah.
you know, Gen Xers, especially, we've been we were, the lock key generation, and or latchkey, I guess it was called. We come through that type of, we don't talk about that, well, so and so has cancer, everything's whispered and swept under the carpet. So now I think it's as if we are evolving in that a different mindset. And I'm seeing more of, as I was saying earlier, people are showing up for themselves and for others and saying, that's it. Time to it's time to put a face to this thing. Let's
Yes.
move through this together. And it alleviates, I think, some of the fear or the questions or the what ifs for some individuals that are just starting on that journey.
Yeah. Because when
Yeah.
you can see someone who has faced breast cancer twice,
Yeah.
I've had 6 cancer related surgeries and under 9 years, like when you
Yeah.
can see someone who is able to just keep getting up and keep moving forward, and then is also creating the space to support other people who are looking at that and saying, well, that's great, but now what do I do with that? It's not
Yes.
just about a face on Instagram and a little bit of a narrative. It's about like, okay, but how do I become that person? How do I do that? I want to be you when I grow up, right? So how
Right.
do I do
Yeah.
that? So I
Yeah.
love that you have the offering of one-to-one if people are really looking for that deeper personalized, but then also that space. And you said it so well that, you know, to go through it in their own time
Yeah.
because it really is a lot to process. It's like, what the
Exactly.
heck just happened? What bus just rolled through here? Like,
Right.
so to even get to the table to say, I'm even thinking about doing something about this, and
Yes.
taking that next step of hitting that email and saying, I'd like to do this work with you is huge.
Yes.
But you're right, like there are so many spaces you can get into that I had to pull myself out of multiple Facebook groups because they just went so negative and so angry and so disheartening, and I found it difficult to hear
Yes.
other people's sad stories, which in itself is difficult, but it's also in a weird way is like, okay, what can I do to not get to that place? So I love
Definitely.
that you're creating a space where people can take their time and do
Yes.
it in a way that feels comfortable in their own body and it's not forced, and it's not a 3-month program and you got to get it done because I don't know
Right.
about you, but like in my program it's like it's 12 weeks, but really I have clients that 12 weeks takes 6 months because we
Oh,
just
yeah.
like, okay, so it's 12 sessions, but
Yeah.
there's no, because things happen, people have surgeries, people have treatment, people have life, they want to travel.
Yes.
But I think
Exactly.
when you have walked that walk, you can say, well, of course you want to go to do something that week instead. Good for
Yes.
you. That's part of the cancer journey is being able to say yes to
Exactly.
yourself. So
Exactly.
I'm assuming, I'm now putting this on you, I'm assuming that your program is, and even your one-on-one coaching is sort of a like,
Oh, 100% flexible. And in fact, I had a lady reach out to me. And I mean, of course, I think like yourself, we're available to all cancer journeyers. So it doesn't matter the cancer, but
yeah,
I know breast cancer. So, when it comes to speaking to some of the emotions that breast cancer journeyers go through might be very, very different from, pancreatic cancer or colon cancer. So, um, you know, so I am a part of some support groups that ironically I did not want to join back in that time frame because as you said, I wasn't ready and I wasn't strong enough to filter through all of those comments and stories. And a lot of it was very triggering. I talk a lot about trauma and triggers in, again, one of my other lessons, because they are very, very real.
yeah.
A movie, as you said, a movie can trigger. Years later now, movies can
I know,
still
right? I'm
trigger me.
feeling it in my
Yes. So and then, but it is acknowledging that that's triggered you and not punishing yourself for allowing it to trigger you. Um, but let's look at that. Like, why did that come up? What is there?
yes.
Let's talk about that. And so I think that is finally starting to become a little bit more of the overall cancer community is people are starting to talk about that. But yes, I have definitely come into groups and said, okay, can we please watch the fear-based narratives and the fear-based articles? There's enough fear-based thinking that goes on in some of these groups, especially for newly diagnosed
Yeah.
individuals and younger individuals. getting diagnosed.
Hmm.
There's enough of that going around. We need to bring them through with love and compassion. So yes, so that is definitely my goal. And I had a woman reach out to me just based on one of my comments, and and she said, I really could use some support, and I didn't even know that a cancer coach type thing existed.
Beautiful.
And I said, I am very happy to provide. I have scalable services. So I'm very flexible. I just want to I want to help. That's my heart.
Yeah.
So I want to be flexible, and, I'm not signing this person up immediately to my program. Um, we're just having a conversation. And I just said, if you want to continue with me, we can talk about different possibilities. I do have this sort of what I call the blueprint coaching, where we talk about what do you want your how do you want to like, you're the architect, right? How do you want your house to look like?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. Let's create this blueprint of what you want to see and how you want your life to evolve within this journey and beyond.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it really is a person's own creation, but if they don't have the tools, I would say, like, what tools do you have in your toolbox? Like, they need the
Definitely.
tools and they need the strategies, and then,
Yeah.
yeah, the space to really reflect on and bounce that off of somebody else. So it
Mhm.
sounds like your offerings are absolutely beautiful, and I'm sure that they will resonate with people who are listening to this call. And I have to say, I love that two cancer coaches can get on a call and talk about, like, I want to support your business. I want to
Yeah,
support the work you're doing with other cancer thrivers, because everybody will find their own person. And,
definitely.
somebody that is listening to this, you may resonate very deeply with them. And I would encourage people to reach out to you and to ask you, more about what you do and what that looks like, because it has to be the person that you resonate with, and that
Yeah.
when you get on a call or you get into their program and you need to reach out for support, that it's, like, super comfortable. It has to be like your best friend. Like, you
Like
can
your best
just
friend.
do that
Exactly.
without feeling like they're imposing. So, and I know you give
Exactly.
off that energy. You have beautiful energy that way. And I know that you will support all of your clients in the most authentic way possible, because that's
Amazing.
just who you are as a person. So we are coming up on our time. Jennifer and I
Mhm.
could talk for hours. We we
Yes,
always
we
have
do.
to censor ourselves when we get on a call. It's like, okay, I have other things to do today. Um,
Right.
so just a few other things before we wrap this up. Thank you, first of all, for sharing all of that, like, really beautiful thoughts and concepts that, I know will resonate with the people who are listening to the podcast. Um, I did share that in the show notes, I will talk about where to find you. You have, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, and you have your blog and your website,
Yeah.
and your own podcast. So
Yeah.
I will put all of that in the show notes. But I do have one last question for you that I ask all of my guests, and that is, what does living to thrive mean to you?
Well, I definitely think it's about showing up for yourself on a daily basis. And no matter what that looks like, if the day is grim, allow that, allow it, and rest in that. Um, and don't try to suppress any of those emotions. Move through them, sit
Mm.
with them, acknowledge them, be kind, give yourself grace. That's what I see, because that's how we evolve. That's how we sort of level up in life, is to acknowledge these milestones in our life. So yeah, that's what I see. And you attract more of the energy of what you're in. So even if you are having a down day, you acknowledge that that's just part of the journey. That doesn't
Yes.
define who you are. That's just part of the journey. And so therefore, it's okay to sit in the dark and sit in the yuck. But know that tomorrow's a new day and you can move through that.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is thriving, is getting up every day and
Yeah.
just moving forward, whether it's yuck or whether it's joy, every day. And every day, I believe, is a 100% possibility and reality of
Yeah.
surviving and thriving and living your best life.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And take the trip. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Take the trips.
yeah. Do the fun things. Friends,
Do
do
the
the
fun things.
fun things because really
Yes.
when you sit back and you look at your life, like you want to be able to say that you did the fun things, even when things were difficult.
Yep.
You
I
can
went to
still
Italy in
do it.
between, like, yeah, right after my final cancer treatments, I went to Italy with a girlfriend and I don't regret it for a second.
Yeah,
So yeah, things
so
like that.
good. Things
Yeah.
like that. Or
Yeah,
just go to the farmer's market down the road if that's the best you can do
exactly.
that day,
What
right? Go
brings
for a
you
walk in the
joy?
woods. Yeah,
That's
whatever
right.
brings you joy. I love
Yeah,
it. I love it. Well,
exactly.
I want to thank you so much. I am going to give you the chance to tell people what your website is because I said I would put everything in the notes, but I'd like them to hear it
Sure.
from you.
Yes. So my primary website is www.farr. It's two R's, Farrs. It's my last name. Far from fear coaching.com. Yeah. And so they can find access to everything in there. There are some the possibilities of filling out a form to see it about an alignment call or to see about your readiness to pursue any sort of coaching. There's also a free journey toolkit that I have offered and a
Oh,
free program preview. So actually, individuals can sign up and just review a little bit of the program. So I've
beautiful.
taken a couple of lessons from the modules and just done a little short 10-minute clip of everything. So yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So again, I'll put that in the show notes so that people can
Amazing.
find you. Um, So, friends, today Jennifer's message has been about navigating cancer through thought wellness. And you've heard me say many times that mindset matters. And I know that Jennifer agrees with that. When you have cancer, mindset matters. And I think that Jennifer's really helped us today to understand that and to go even a little bit deeper into that, revealing to yourself to get to that place of understanding about
Yeah.
mindset. So, just a really big thank you, Jennifer, for being here, for the work that you do to support other cancer journeyers, and to just, I think, be a bright light in the cancer community that shows to other people that there is so much possibility in whatever way resonates with you.
Exactly. Well, thank you again, and how you show up in the space, the cancer community as well. Um, People like us are needed. So just thank you so much, and I am so grateful that we've met. So,
Me
and I
too.
can't wait to have you on my podcast.
Yes, we'll tell people when that's happening. So,
We will
yay
talk about that.
us, and
Yeah,
yay to all of the people that are listening and are open to receiving, whether it's through the podcast or asking for support. It's different for everyone. So, thank you everyone for being here today. Again, thanks to Jennifer, and we will see you on the next episode of the podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And may you live your life to your fullest, follow your heart, and thrive in all you do.